I had a little girl. I said, oh, so you're gifted. And she goes, no, I outgrew that in 3rd grade. I said, oh, dear God. I said, baby girl, you did not outgrow your giftedness. She goes, well, they stopped letting me go to the class. And I'm like, oh my God. I said, you did not. You are gifted, okay? You did everything you were supposed to do. You were tested. You were labeled gifted. You're always going to be gifted. They tell you you can't act as a therapist, but yet this kid needs a therapist. You know, you can't say this or you can say this, and your hands are tied a lot of times. And so if you're a person that really want to do a job and, you know, make sure that you adhere to whatever the child needs as far as mental health is concerned, it's not happening in the school. So what do?
All right, so today is episode 12.
12. The big one, too.
The big one, too. And we have another special guest.
Very special.
We have today's Rennie.
Hi, Rennie. Welcome, Rennie.
And as you can see, Robin already acting like Robin. She knows Rennie
very well.
Rennie has a long history with Robin, so we feel bad for her. So we wanted to bring her in and give her some therapy on the podcast a little bit because they used to work together. So TJ, you know, this woman right here may need some therapy.
Y'all better hear this at your own risk.
Yeah,
hear this at your own risk. That's the disclaimer.
With that, there is definitely a disclaimer on this one. So it's going to be unhinged, and it's exactly what we need. So
Robin, introduce Rennie.
Y'all, I'm just saying, it is, as y'all can tell, it has been a week. And I don't know if Rennie's getting a therapy or if Rennie's bringing a therapy for us because we are definitely unhinged. But no. So as you all know, we like to bring in our special guests, and especially they've got to be unhinged. Well, not only is Rennie one of my most favorite colleagues that I got to work with, before here, of course. She is one of my best friends, and she's about as unhinged as they come in all the great ways. And so Rennie is former military. She is also in public education. And we taught together for a few years. And she actually taught my sons. And I actually coached her daughters. So we are not only intertwined, of course, professionally, but also personally. So welcome. Welcome. Yes. All right, Rennie. So you're going to have to give us a little bit of your background. Tell us who you are.
Okay, so I'm Rennie. I was in the military for 13 years. I got out exactly 1 month before 9/11 happened.
Oh, wow.
Exactly.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And then I actually called up my old boss. He goes, "Are you coming back?" And I'm like going, "No." And he goes, "Where are you going?" And he goes, we're going to South Korea." I'm like, so, and I had already had my 2 wonderful, beautiful little daughters by then. So I was like going, yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm just going to stay here. Came from Arkansas where I met my husband, and we migrated south to Florida, and where I was working for corporate America. And one day, a trainer I had said, "You'd be a great teacher." And I'm like going, "You think so?" So I started looking into it. And about that time, my stepmom got cancer and she passed away. And I had gone through all the FMLA to try to go see her. And they're like going, no. And so when she passed, I called up the Orange County Public Schools.
Central Florida
Schools. And the person that answered the phone, she had the same name as my stepmom. And I was like going, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do.
It's a sign.
Wow.
It's a sign.
Gosh, that gave me chills.
Yeah. So ever since then, they always said, substitute first to figure out where you want to teach. And I quickly found out that I did not want to be at the elementary level because they lie.
Who lies?
It was Miss, why are you so fat? I'm like, I'm not fat. I'm fluffy.
I love it.
Lie number 1. That's what they did.
Yeah.
This child went home and he had a rug burn because he did a head spin after I told him not to. And mom came up and said, "You hit my child." I went, "No, I did not." I'm like going, "Yes, I hit your child." And the 20 other kindergartners did not go home and say, "Mommy, the teacher hit my friend." I'm like, "I did not hit your child." And did her head spin and wasn't supposed to. So So then I taught high school. I loved high school. And then I finally got to middle school and figured out that's where I could be quirky enough and sarcastic just enough to bring them back down to earth because I don't know if you know this or not. 7th graders are little aliens.
They do. They're not on. Yep.
Yeah. 7th and 8th grade, really. They're kind of both.
So 7th grade is the real alien year. And then 8th grade is where in between the summer, between 7th and 8th grade is where they actually mature a little bit. And so they actually start caring a little bit. And so we see them coming back down to earth. And I'm like, oh, you're a real person and not an alien anymore. So I've been in education now for 18 years. So now I'm teaching science and yeah.
In what grade?
I teach this year. I'm going to be teaching 7th and 8th grade, but normally I just teach 8th graders.
Okay.
Because I can't do the alien year.
Right.
And you teach, like she does the advanced science. And so
yeah,
like
I do regular and I do honors. I have the gifted kids, the normal gifted kids and the underachieving gifted kids. Because gifted is not just one. Yeah. And then I've got math sometimes. And this year I got to dive into the yearbook. And so, hey.
Nice.
Yeah. She has a lot of energy.
So I'm curious to know what made you get into the military?
Because a boy told me I couldn't do it.
Oh, I love it. We already know your personality.
Yeah, yes, you do.
I had just broke up with this guy and I told him, oh, well, it's okay. Oh, by the way, I'm getting ready to go to the military. And he said, oh, you'll never make it.
Where is he now?
I don't know.
Yeah. Whoever he is, we're going to find you.
Yeah. I mean, I did what I was supposed to do and I was enlisted. I went the enlisted route and then I got my college degree, became an officer. And then for some reason I decided to go to a male dominant area and I'm like going, okay. And so had to deal with that as an officer. And it was just like, I'm like, do you really want to talk to me like that? And I'm like going, they're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, let's go.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
In the end, my job, to put it in perspective, was a glorified weather girl, and I analyzed maps. So I would tell you where I thought the enemy would hide. So I would tell you where we could hide, and we also did gas detection. So,
ooh, I mean, all of that sounds very interesting. Oh, God, here comes Miss Robin. Is this pretty
body gas?
Gas detection.
Well,
I'm like,
yeah. Is that why you do science gases? I don't know.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Poisonous gases, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
no, but you guys, listen, you don't understand. Right before we came over here, we were in the office. And when she's talking about I was a glorified weather girl, I'm looking at this. She goes, okay, so anyway, your house. I looked it up on Google Earth.
Oh, yeah.
You're in the middle of a street. Like, and are you a tripod? Like, who are you attached to? Why are you in the middle of the street? I go, what? You looked where? Like, I gave you an address. So what? Like, what
Pointed her in the middle of the street. I'm like, are we still in the Winnebago? Are we still living? I don't know if I can stay there.
What the heck?
And then I looked, I'm like, okay, let's be realistic. It's the house. But is it a triplex?
MapQuest? Why are we doing Google Earth?
Because I wanted to see. Because MapQuest, you can't see the house. On Google Earth, you can.
Oh, anyway.
Ready? I do have another question. Teaching gifted kids is, I think, something very unique, and you have to have very unique skills for, because
And trained, yeah.
yeah. Because in my head, I'm thinking, okay, you probably have a lot of that neurodivergent population, because let's face it, I mean, a lot of people who are neurodivergent are gifted from what we see research-wise. So you have to balance the ADHD, high functioning autism, plus the gifted part of it. Like, what do you think has been your biggest challenge?
Keeping the normal gifted engaged while bringing up the underachieving gifted, because it's the underachieving gifted that it's harder to get them to do things. And so I always equate this to this. Just think, if they would have let Hitler into art school, if Hitler was allowed to be in art school because he got denied twice, it would be a different world.
What?
And he was underachieving gifted. Hitler was gifted.
Interesting. No, I'm very fascinated by that.
Wait, I was actually like, I know where she was going. I was like, oh gosh, but wait, okay, explain.
Explain what? Hitler was gifted.
He didn't get to go to art school?
Yeah, he got denied from art school twice. And that's where he diverged and went down a different road.
So tell me what that means, though, for those underachieving gifted. Like, what do we need to do for those?
That's the thing. And that's what I try to find out is I try to find out where is their giftedness. And so I spend a good part looking through their files to try to figure out, okay, what gets you motivated? And so I have them fill out different things at the beginning of the school year. Who are you? What do you like to do? So I can try to play things in my head. Okay, what do I need to hook you in to get you going? So, and it's just like, I had a little girl who said, I said, oh, you see, you're gifted. And she goes, no, I outgrew that in third grade. I said, oh, dear God. I said, baby girl, you did not outgrow your giftedness. She goes, well, they stopped letting me go to the class. And I'm like, oh my God. I said, you did not. You are gifted, okay? You did everything you were supposed to do. You were tested. You were labeled gifted. You're always going to be gifted. And I think the moment I told her that, something about her confidence level went up. So, and what I've seen is in my underachieving gifted kids is they don't have the confidence. And so it's like, okay, I know you can do it. I had another gifted girl. I'm like going, she fell asleep during one of my tests. And I'm like going, and she gave me a panic attack. I had an anxiety attack right in the middle of the test. I'm like, going, okay, I had to go get a soda, calm me down. And I'm like, going, girl, if you sleep during my test tomorrow, I might come unhinged. And she's like going, okay, bet. And I'm like going, okay, bet.
Yeah.
And she goes, will you bring me a candy bar? And I'm like going, what kind, baby girl? What kind of candy bar do you want? She goes, okay. And I don't even remember what it was. Okay, if I don't fall asleep, you're going to bring, oh no, it was a breakfast sandwich. I'm sorry. I said, yes, I will bring you a breakfast sandwich from Chick-fil-A. She goes, okay, all I have to do is stay focused on the test. I'm like, yes. And then you'll give me my sandwich. I said, yes. So the next day I come in right before the test. I said, look, I got you a drink. Happened to know what her favorite drink was. There was hash browns and there was a biscuit, chicken biscuit. She's like, that for me? I said, yeah. Stay awake. Don't snore during my test. And she stayed awake and she scored a 5. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. But she was one of my underachieving gifted kids who all year long wouldn't do work. And it was just like pulling teeth to get her on there. But it was just like, okay, what can I do for these kids?
You are the type of educator that we need more of, because this is the type of thing that I feel is missing a lot from the school systems, at least that I've seen and hear about. And it's not because we don't have good teachers. We have great teachers. But I think the problem is that seeing that everyone as an individual and not looking at all these kids as like, okay, you are an 8th grader. You are 12 years old, and this statistically is what I'm going to do for all of you because all of you learn the same way, or all of you are motivated by the same thing. It's like you're picking out and seeing them as an individual. And I think that is like, it makes you amazing as an educator.
I had a girl this year, gifted, and I moved her next to me. First of all, I'm really loud, naturally. And she would go like this during class. So she couldn't, part of her could only hear part of me. And I'm like I'm sorry. Do you want to move away? She goes, no. And she wrote me a note and she was gifted. And she goes, thank you for being the first teacher to talk to me. Because she felt like she was an A student. So no one had to worry about her. So they just, oh, she's okay. She's going to be fine. Let her go. And she would sit next to me and I'd sit there and talk to her and go, how's your day? So what's going on? Oh, I love your outfit. And she's like going, you're the first person to actually talk to me.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like going, and not talk at her. And I'm like going, for you to recognize that, I'm like, well, that's pretty darn cool. And so we would talk all the time and just talk about her drawings and different things that she had involved. She wanted to be a tech person. She was the behind the scenes person at the musicals that we did. And I said, hey, have you heard about this college, Full Sail? They do all kinds of techie stuff. She goes, no. And I went, really? I go, because if this is what you want to do, you might want to check that out. And so she actually went home and got online and looked it up. And she's like, oh my gosh, my parents didn't even know about this place. I'm like, going, sweetie, it's 2 minutes down the road from us.
Yeah, it's around the corner.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's just a matter of how they're not all the same. And one of the things that I was telling Robin is this is why I love teaching summer school, is because I can get to those lower level kids during summer and help them now. So when they come up to 8th grade, they're like going, oh, you're the one that helped me out this summer and get me caught up. I need to actually work for you because you helped me already. So we had these little signs that we had to put up in our window that I'm a safe adult. And so a couple of my students came up to me and goes, you're my safe adult. I'm like going, oh, I go, really? Me? They're like, yeah. I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh, I love that.
But see, that's what I'm saying. So, and again, Rennie and I taught together. And I mean, we know the neurodivergent, I mean, obviously is, it takes one to know one. And that's what we were talking. She's in the office and talking about the gift. She's like, okay, these are the ones I want to work with. I go, these are the ones you do work with, But again, it's not, and I don't know if y'all picked up on it, but the biggest thing, like, I know even with me, whoever my good coach was or whoever it was never about the academics. It was never about the, we were great in that. It was never about that. It was about they see me as a person, because that's the thing is that we know with anytime that you're sitting, whether it's ADHD, autism gifted, it's all sensory, it's all this, but there's times when you develop in areas super, super fast, or that's just your thing. But there's also other areas that are just so completely, not that they can't develop, but they haven't. And so that's the biggest thing is that so many times when you're working with high achieving and, athletics, academics, it's not about that, but that's what everybody focuses on, especially because it's education. And so I always tell everybody, I am so glad I was an educator before I did mental health, because I have all of that, but you also have to learn how to teach everybody, every type of kid. And then coming in here and it actually makes you understand the mental health. And sometimes I'm go, oh my gosh, well, that was that and that was that. And because, we got to know these kids, individually. And we're not afraid to celebrate them. Or we're not afraid to like, no, sit down, come here. Like, or what's going on? Like, so, and I think that's what it was, is that we just treat them as them, Yeah, we want them to get the A. Sure, we want them to do that. We see that, but that's not where it was, And so, that's why I said
I always love when people say that, oh, you're a teacher, you have an easy job. I said, oh, yeah. Okay. So put 25 of my children or 25 people into a doctor's office, and now you have 47 minutes to diagnose all of them. Good luck.
every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Yeah. And in 47 minutes, you're going to get a new batch. And it's going to be 25 to 27 new ones. Go. Yeah.
No, I have always had the highest respect for teachers because I know I almost did that. I went down that path for about 6 months until I volunteered, because I volunteered in a classroom. I said, no, I like kids, but not that much. Yeah. Like, no, I seen what the teacher and how, like, and it was elementary. It was like a first grade class. And I'm like, So I immediately got out, which is a good thing, because I don't have the patience like you guys do.
Yeah, I did social work for 3 years at an elementary school. The first year, I thought I was going to lose my mind. And I'm like, okay, well, is this punishment? or is there something that I really, really need to learn about myself? So I never figured out which one. But so I stayed for 2 more years. And after that third year, I was like, yeah, it's not for me. My grace is not in the school system. My grace is outside of it.
I love that.
So yeah, I have a big thanks for our social worker and our safe coordinators, because children now, even the adolescents now, my grade group now, is I hear stories from other schools and I'm like going, you had what at your school? Yeah, the kid tried to do something to himself. And I'm like going, nah. And I'm like, yeah, you need to watch this person. See people come in and get swooped out of my class. And I'm like going, what was that all about? Oh, well, they had something they weren't supposed to have. And you're just like, huh? And so it's becoming more and more nowadays that everything. So I'm Gen X. I'm like, it was like, okay, you're fine. Drink from a water hose. You're fine.
Yeah.
But, you fell down? Okay, get up, brush off and go on. But now it's kind of like, are you okay? Did that do something to you? Are you going to be afraid? And it's evolving where they're needing more help. They can't just brush it off now.
Yeah. Do you ever get to have an opinion like with your own like bosses, I guess, or maybe as a whole? I don't know if you can speak on like every school, but I'm curious to know if like you have an opinion of like what can be improved, because you are all in the classrooms, you see the kids every day, you're the ones like in the nitty gritty. Like the other people, like the higher ups, the admin, things like that, they're not like in there. Like I feel like you should have more to say of how things can run a little bit better.
No. I mean, to a degree, we can say, there's a kid on campus that I know because I taught him in summer school. I was the only adult on campus that actually he would trust. And so if he got in trouble, they're like going, yeah, could you please have this child in your class for just for a little while until the end of the day? I'm like, whatever, sure. Come on in. Go sit over there. Don't talk. And, but it was also to the point that I had the tough love with that child too. And I was like I'm like, what did you do? I didn't do anything. Okay, whatever. Go over there and sit down. And so it was just and then they would try talking to my student. I'm like, no, you're not talking to my student. You're in trouble. You leave my students alone. You stay over there. Miss, are you mad at me? I'm like, I'm upset with the choices that you made. I'm not mad at you, so to speak, but you can't talk while I'm trying to teach the other students. So, but as far as, we have opinions and we can tell admin this, that, or the other, but a lot of times it goes in one ear and out the other because they have to do what they have to do. So depending upon the circumstance.
That's what I was going to say. I think a lot of times is that when you're a teacher, and especially when you've been in it a long time, and I came into it before Rennie, but you learn to navigate all the standards and everything else, but you still are you. So it's almost like you're kind of your own boss, but a lot of it is just like being who you are. And that's the thing. And, she's tough. She is, but it's never about her, and that's the thing. It's like they know because she builds that connection. And so they know, oh, okay, well, I'm going to go to so-and-so. And then she's like, sit down.
Yeah.
But it's that consistency. And that's where so many of these kids, like even when we would talk with other teachers and stuff, they're like, how come you guys don't have any problems? I'm like, well, they all have problems, but this is where it is. Like, it's just consistent because it's like, no matter if they're good, bad, or indifferent, they know she's always going to be her. I was always going to be me. And that was something I think a lot of times they don't get.
It sounds like you set up boundaries and you set up
a lot of structure.
Right.
A lot of structure. And that's what some of these kids thrive for is the structure.
But they do because some of them don't have it at home. And that's as a school social worker, I saw a lot of that where, they were resistant at first. But when you start to set the classroom expectations or, what's required of them, they started falling in line with that because they did not have that at home.
Yeah. I'm always known as, you're the mean teacher that yells in the hallways. Okay, come in here and sit down and do your work. And then they get to know me. They're like going, oh, last year I thought you were so mean. I go, because were you walking the wrong way down the hallway? And they're like, yeah. I said, did we argue? Yeah. Was I right? Yeah. How do you feel about me now? I love you. Well, okay.
Yeah.
I'm still the same.
I haven't changed.
And it's funny. You made me think about like even us as adults, like even though, yes, of course, kids need structure, they need discipline, they need consistency. But I feel like adults, like even with our bosses or if like we're in school and university, like we need to know and have consistency with our leadership, which it could be a boss or it could be, like a professor. Because like as soon as you started talking about like how you are, it made me think of one of my mentors who was a professor of mine in my undergrad. Dr. Gustopoulos, she's still at FIT and she's like freaking amazing. And she was known as the hard ass professor. Like either you hated her or you loved her. So people warned me before I took her class and I was like scared to death. But I'm walking in there and you knew what her expectations were of everybody. If you were late 20 seconds, your door was shut. Like the door was shut. You were not allowed to be late to her class. Like all these things were set up. She let you know ahead of time. It was in her syllabus. And her and I still to this day I can call her up, and she loves me, and I love her, and I have respect for her. Who did she pick for one of her top internships? Me, because she knew
We knew that.
but she knew that she could count on me. But I steered her in the right way, because I knew that just because I was a good student, if I didn't follow her rules or follow her syllabus, she was going to be like, get out.
Right.
And so you made me think, like, we all need that. And we need that as a leadership,
Yeah.
you know?
That consistency.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the problem with this year at our school. We've had so many leadership changes, and teachers have come to me, and I'm like going, just breathe. That's all I can tell you to do is just breathe. Manage what's going on in your room, and don't worry about anything out there. I go, if it's something we need to deal with, come to me and I will help you out. So, because I'm also one of the mentors for teachers.
You should be mentors for the parents too.
Oh,
That's a whole nother
That's a whole
podcast.
We need a whole nother podcast for that.
Well, I mean, I know in our field too, we struggle in a different way when it comes to, seeing kids or teenagers and stuff, and, having them come in. And a lot of parents, unfortunately, they're like, here, fix my kid. They're having all these issues at home. And then once you dive deeper, how are they at school? They have straight A's. They never get in trouble at school. Well, as soon as they get home, they do X, Y, and Z. Okay, let's see where that comes from. If they can turn it off for 8 hours at school and then turn it on, like there's something that's not right. And they don't see it that way. So sometimes we have to educate our parents and see what that bottom line is.
Oh yeah, but I can't do that.
I know, we can't. That's what's
Yeah,
right. We knew it. So we normally don't have a problem doing it,
Right.
Because your child is in here for a reason, so.
I mean, and Rennie knows, because also, like I said, we know each other in athletics, but the parents that know us, and that was a good thing, is that because we taught at the middle school, that was the middle school that fed into the high school. And so we got brothers and sisters, and, we knew these families so well. Plus, like I said, her daughter cheered for us at the high school, but we were at the middle school. So there was a lot of like systems work already being done. But a lot of times it's like, even though, the parents would be like, we got them. They just like, hey, so-and-so, such a, I got you. Don't worry about it. So there was some of that like reciprocity with some of our good families. They're all good families. But
I would like, really? I'm going to call Cheryl up on the phone. No, you're not. On my cell phone.
Yep.
Hey, Cheryl, you're on speakerphone. I've got your child, little Johnny, sitting in front of me. Ah, hell, what'd he do now? Okay, well, this is what he did. She goes, take me off speaker and put him on the phone. Okay, it's for you.
Yep.
In the
they
middle of
knew it.
class. And I'm just like going, no, because I've taught so many families. I'm like, are you the last one? No, there's 4 more. What? There's 4 more here? Okay. So, but by that time I've got the rapport with the family because I've already taught all the older brothers and sisters. I'm like going, okay, here we go.
I love it.
Well, and even with that, like people always say, how did you teach middle school or high school? I said, you got to be crazier than them.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You literally do, because they literally don't think that you, and then they go, I'm not doing that again. Cause you know what she did to me last Tuesday? They're like, I know who you have for science. Yep.
Well, I would tell them all the time. I'm like going, okay, first of all, I haven't had my coffee this morning. Second of all, I haven't had my meds. So the voices in my head are going a little bit crazy. And they're like,
they don't know like if she's
and
being
they're
hard
like
or not.
going, so every now and then they look at me and they're like going, did you take your meds this morning? And it's nothing for that.
Yeah.
It's, it's just my vitamins.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like going, and there's times I'm like going, oh, dear Lord, remember, these are not my children.
They're probably
I'll
like,
look
she
around,
is
the kids are like
crazy.
going, who's she talking
I
to?
know. Who is she talking to? That's great.
So then they like calm down because they
yeah.
realize they're not the
Oh, yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
No.
Exactly.
Today is not the day.
It's like, who is she?
No, I have to ask you now, is mental health in the schools that you see in 7th and 8th grade? Because that's a very critical age in general.
Yeah.
And then you put it in schools and put it on teachers to have to see and deal with. And unfortunately, like every single time I hear about another child dying by suicide, it's like a knife in me. And it's not even my child, or I may not even know them, because I know it's just such a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. And there's not enough people to help them, because those adults who we have to call immediately are doing 10 other things. And I'm like going, Susie right here needs somebody to talk to her before she gets off of this campus today. Y'all are not even. And I'm like going, I had a mom call me one night and she said, hey, I'm just telling you, my daughter saw this post online about her friend. You might want to call somebody. And I'm like, what was the post? And so they described to me what the post was. I had to immediately call my principal and say, hey, so-and-so just told me this. And it's 7:00 at night. So now I'm friends with the mom and I know the dad too. I'm trying to call both of their phone numbers to find out. And I'm like I can't get a hold of either one of the parents. What do? They're like, yeah, you got to call the cops. You got to call 911 because you don't want the parents to go home and that child to not exist anymore. So I'm like going, yeah. So lo and behold, two burly cops went walking up to the parents' door. Mom finally got my message. And they're like, yeah, we want to thank you because he was not in the right space at that point in time. And so the two cops took him outside and just started talking to him. So I was like going, okay, just thought I'd let you guys know.
And I don't know how much more we could say to whoever's in charge. And I'm not from education, so I don't know. But like if they're so, the social workers and counselors are so either overwhelmed because they're not helping, like, okay, then we need to put money in the system to where we can have more contracts to have people coming there every single day to these schools. Like in my head, that's my way of resolving it because we talked about that, even us, like, we're like, God, we want to get into schools. Like social workers are don't have enough time or they're limited on what they're allowed to do, how they do it. It's like,
and we just took a huge cut this year in education. So a lot of the schools went down. And there was a big release as far as teachers and those positions are concerned. We're just like, okay, so usually I just teach 8th grade. And my boss is like going, I need you to teach an extra period. I said, okay, no problem. I'll teach an extra period. It's going to be 7th grade. Okay, I'll do it. But it's just the fact that because we had to make those cuts, that there's not enough. Our social worker was literally at the front desk answering phone calls.
oh my God.
And that is correct. And that's what I was going to say, from being inside the school system as a social worker who was hired to do, to do mental health for the kids, like, social emotional learning, we had other duties, lunch duty, front desk duty, sit with this kid duty.
Yep.
All these duties that did not even scratch the surface of why we were there. And a lot of times social workers get, their hands are tied. They tell you can't act as a therapist, but yet this kid needs a therapist. You can't say this or you can say this, and your hands are tied a lot of times. And so if you're a person that really want to do a job and, make sure that you adhere to whatever the child needs as far as mental health is concerned, it's not happening in the school. So what do? They leave. So that's why, some of it is the shortage is they're going elsewhere because their hands are tied to school. And then you have like the people that are over the social workers, they're not even counselors. So it's a lot of things that they don't know that goes into, the details of what we do.
That makes me
So
very
it is.
That makes me very
And I
sad.
agree. Contracted, workers to come in every day.
Because if you can't hire them, then as an actual in-school social worker or therapist, then, have...
Well, what happens is that everything is, I hate to say it, but a knee-jerk reaction, because again, it always comes down to, oh my gosh, nothing's going to be done until it gets to a point to where they have to address it. And so usually what happens is that there's money or there's grants or there's something, and that's how it comes in. But unfortunately, because every single school is short-staffed in some area, that's a warm body. Oh, well, we can do this. And because they really don't understand. And that's what I'm saying. Coming from both, and you all know I'm still very heavy-handed in both areas. I keep my license active. I've got everything, writing IEPs practically. And it is very sad because, again,
But it's not
They
working.
try. It's not working.
The bottom line
It's not
is it's not working. And what is it going to take to, how many kids are going to have to, unfortunately, not be here anymore?
But here's the thing, and this is where I'm ready to go, Nella. It's not just the kids.
Oh, no.
It's the teachers.
Oh.
And that's what you guys know. The educators are out of the classroom. We've got so many people in there teaching that aren't educators.
Well, there's a difference between educators and teachers.
Well, yeah. I mean, and because again, you have a passion for that. You're like even Nella said, she goes, "Oh, I thought that was, oh, not me." I love, I mean, you guys know, I love it. It is me. I love teaching these kids. I have a passion. It is about them. So I'm always going to go above and beyond. Rennie's always going to go above. But unfortunately, how many teachers, and that's what I'm going to say, are going to, that's not my, I'm
because
off
they're
duty.
afraid. They're afraid of, what comes with that too. They're afraid if they do too much, then it's going to come back on them. Or if they don't do enough, it's still going to come back on them. So you
But
guys
that's
are
the
the
thing.
brave
It's not about them.
educators.
It's about the kids. And that's what I'm saying.
Right.
It is a tough, it is.
But it's a system thing too. It's
Oh, absolutely.
So
and system, it doesn't work.
Right. So, and just so you guys know, is that the reporting system for a child to say that they're going to do something, harm themselves, is so lengthy that it can go after the school hours. And we have to get the parents involved. And there's parents out there that go, they're okay, we're taking them home.
it's happened. Yeah, of course.
Several times. And we're just like going, your child is begging for help. No, they're fine. We're telling you they're not fine. No, they're fine.
Yeah, that does that. It's like, it
Because that's the thing. These kids are our kids.
yeah.
And our hands are tied. Because they're not, but we are with these kids more than, I mean, they're our kids.
Yeah, because you guys are with them like 8 hours a day. I mean,
Yeah. And then if we have them and if we are in, and that's the thing. Middle school's 3 years, high school's 4 years, elementary's 5 years. So it's like you have them and then you see them, so we literally watch these kids grow up knowing that we're sending them back sometimes. And it's hard. It's hard. And
I always thought that what would be a good idea is, okay, so the schools hire social workers or mental health counselors, and they stick us at different schools. We should be a part of the learning curriculum. Like you have how many periods?
Seven.
7. So if a mental health counselor or a social worker is employed at your school, then we should have 7 classes where we teach. You know what I mean? Like
you can't.
I disagree with that because you're there. I mean, I understand maybe one class, but you have to have someone else that you could get that off on. Because what if little Johnny or little Susie is in crisis mode and you're teaching a class?
Some kind of way. Like,
Yeah.
So
that's the other
But
part of
guys,
that.
but here's the thing.
Even if it's
I
2
was
or 3.
teaching this. I was teaching this. Undergrad, PE and health. I was teaching life management, hope, everything. All of this stuff that I do here, I was teaching. They pulled it out of the classroom. It went online. And you have coaches teaching this. And again, I love my coaches and stuff. But a football coach is not going to want to, they don't, you know what I mean? It's just a class they have to take, but you don't have the right people in there because they pulled it out. They shut it down.
And
that's what I'm
saying.
saying.
It's by not having more.
Well, because that's the data driven and you dehumanize the kids.
Yeah.
And so it's part of the social development that they're not getting.
Well, when you said earlier knee-jerk reaction and you're like, oh, something has to happen. It's like, well, how many more kids have to harm themselves? How many more kids? Exactly. Like, I don't know. And I was able to, a couple of times I've spoken at different schools locally and just kind of like gone in and done something on mental health, just something like, but I didn't get to do that to every single student, So I touched a various handful of students, but like, have us do that. Have that be a regular thing.
Like do assemblies. Like Rennie, okay, so what do you think? Because we've talked about it a lot because, my passion's in both areas. We're always looking for platforms. How do we get in? Not just for the kids, but the parents also and the teachers. Build that community.
Okay, so first of all, for kids, teaching is a great way to come in. I mean, you're going to hit one handful, but I mean, if a group of you went in and there's 5 of you, you just hit 5 groups of people. And
make sure you have that information.
So that's a big thing that happens every year at schools is teaching, just educating them on different things. And parents, be our partners in ed. So find a school, be a partner in ed. You can they'll call you and ask you for donations and everything. But you could actually go to those PTA meetings where those parents are there, and you could actually talk to them. You could actually get in with the PTA president and say, hey, are you okay if I take just 5 or 10 minutes tonight to talk about something? And they'll let you talk. Even at the schools, you could talk to the principals and say, hey, I'm a partner in ed. Can I come to one of your staff meetings, your faculty meetings, and just talk about something for just 5 minutes? Principals are usually okay with you coming in and talking to the teachers, because teachers would love to pick your brains and go, how do we deal with this? Okay. Because like, we're not even supposed to give out Band-Aids in class. But so if I cut myself, can I go to the nurse? We're supposed to say, yeah, go to the nurse. But now they're gone for 30 minutes and they just missed my whole class.
Right.
So, I have a stash in my closet. I even have a stash I have a whole first aid kit for girls too. I'm like going, it's the kind the nurse uses. Really? Yeah, it's over there. So, but just for you guys to come in and just talk to teachers and talk to parents, it's those ways that you guys can get in. We have at our school, we have a counseling that has come in, and so they come in once a month and talk to us. They're there for 5 minutes, and they bring a goodie basket. I'm not saying you guys have to bring a goodie basket, but teachers love goodies. And we raffle it off. So, and if you're not there, you can't put your name in to get into the basket. So
It's incentive.
yeah. So, I mean, it's just little things. And then with that counseling service, they actually give a discount for the teachers if we become patients.
I like that.
That's
we
the
need
incentive.
someone too.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. So many times teachers are being missed. We're constantly looking at the kids, which you should, but I'm like, you guys, these teachers are burned out.
I
Oh, yeah.
like that either. That's what I'm saying. Like having someone like you and hearing the way you are and still passionate about it. Like, I hope we have more of Rennies, not Rennies out there.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, Rennie, it's been so nice to hear from you and hear your background. And we greatly appreciate you coming here and sharing your take on it. And I think we all learned a lot. So
Yeah, because I'll be honest with you, I didn't even know, because we've been trying to think, how do we get in? That's perfect. So I know, me, I'm
thank you. All right. Well, everyone will tune in when next week. All right. Thank you.
Peace.